I'm Lori Knoll, Fairfield Superintendent, and I'm here to give you some information about the bond for a brand new middle school, high school, air conditioning in the gym, and a relocation of our tennis courts. Many of you, this may be the first time that you are hearing about the bond, but I'm here to tell you that we started this way back in April of 2020, and the story started with I had a construction friend and I said, please come through our buildings and tell me where are some of the things that we need to have improvement. We walked through our buildings, and at the end of that he said, what you really need to do is have a facility study done of all of your facilities and really focus on what are your next step. You have some pretty old buildings, and an entire facility study would be the right thing to do. So with the board, we put together an RFP, which is a proposal to look at companies that we would bring in. We narrowed it to 3 companies, and at that point we hired Carl A. Nelson and CMBA, who did a facility study for us. And part of that facility study was to look at the educational needs of our teachers. What were they wanting in a classroom? We had some surveys that we sent out. We did have some surveys out on our computer for the community members as well. We had focus groups where we brought in people from different organizations and different community members to get their input on what they would like to see in new facilities or renovation or where we would go next. Then we did more conversations with the groups. We focused on what were their needs and wants. We talked about renovation. We talked about relocation of different places. And what we settled on after many, many community meetings was to have a brand new middle school and place it on the middle school property. And right now we are informing the public that it's time to go vote for your opinion, yes or no. We really want to hear your voice on where you would like us to do with our new facilities. We had, with Carl A. Nelson and CMBA, we went together and talked with our community members about what were the goals? What do they really want? And what we found out is that they wanted a plan, a 20 to 40 year plan. They did not want something that was going to be this building this time and maybe something else another time. They really wanted something that would have a long range plan that we could start a process and go forward with 20 to 40 years in the future. So for your children and your grandchildren, this is a plan. We looked at what are the environments that we need going into with the 21st century. We want to make sure that when we are constructing something that is flexible with what we need in the future for students, not just for today, but for tomorrow as well. We wanted to make sure that everything that we did was efficient and we were able to use everything that we could. We wanted to be financially safe with the money. We didn't want to be over extravagant. We wanted to make sure that we were being good taxpayers with our money. We wanted to make sure that as we looked at our building that we were having a space that was meeting the needs of the enrollment. We have stable enrollment. We wanted to make sure that if we wanted it to be a growing area, we would have that flexibility. So there was a lot of discussions that happened behind the scenes with these small groups to come up with our objectives that we looked at. And we heard from our groups, there is a facility assessment. If you would like to go online and look at our assessment, it is there. This QR code is one that you can take a picture of and download and look at our facility assessment report. We do have hard copies if you would like one to see one at the main office. And look at what we found out when we were looking at our buildings. Some of the things that we found out from our middle school is that it is definitely a building that needs a lot of renovation, if that would be the path that we would go. But it's so much that it would be better to build a new building. The window panes are single pane windows. They need to be double pane for efficiency. We have water infiltration from the roof and from the side walls that is coming into the building. There is a lot of water damage that is in that building. There is, it just is a tired building that needs a lot of work if we would renovate. We found out from our conversations with our teachers and our administrators that they want an environment that is supportive of our students and our staff. They want to make sure that they have the ability to have mentoring and they can model for the students of the older and the younger kids together. And another thing that our teachers had said is that if we could really have a wish, we would like to have our students in grade bands that is age appropriate. So we would like to have the kindergarten through 2nd grade together, our 3rd through 5th grade together, and then our 6th through 8th grade together. So that would be something that they would like to do, and part of that long-range goal would be able to meet those needs of what our teachers are asking. They also want to make sure that the space is hands-on, that they can have flexibility in how they group kids, that they can have the space to have students in groups that could lay out projects and do hands-on work. They wanted to make sure that there's the capacity and it's flexible to meet all the needs of the educational environment. We also heard from our community that we want a space that's welcoming for everyone. We want to have it to be modern so that when we use the facilities in different ways that we can have an environment that is there for people to use their technology if they need it. It has the space for the different ways that they would like to use a facility. We also heard from the economy would help to have a building that we could showcase and show the welcoming environment that we know we have in Fairfield, and that we can use that space for community events if needed. There is a study that has the master planning report that is also on the same QR code, and on our website at fairfieldsfuture.org. You can go to this site and learn more in detail about the master planning report that we put together. One of the things that we realized as we were doing a study about our environment with school is that every time that businesses and our economy has a change in the Industrial Revolution, that the school districts follow that later. So when the computers were starting, they were in the businesses long before they were in the classrooms. So business individuals learned how to use the technology, and then we taught it to our kids. Well, right now we're in a connectivity phase, and it was pushed a little bit forward with everything going on with COVID, where we had to do more things online. Businesses had been using connectivity for quite a while in their business's opportunity. So now we're wanting a space that we can make sure that we have the environment set for our kids, and we can change with each of the new revolutions that come forward. We have been studying the employment history over time, and in the 1850s, agriculture was the big part of it. And when we were in school, we had all the kids in rows, and we were following part of that manufacturing model of how we should be teaching our students. And things have changed over time. Now we're seeing more of the trade, and we're seeing that we're able to connect with people all around the world. And we want to make sure that we are also giving that type of an environment for our kids. And you can see that on this graph that the manufacturing is getting a little bit smaller, agriculture is a little bit smaller in our area, and that trade is growing, and along with education is expanding in what we are doing in the future. So how do we get there? How do we help our kids? How do we help our community so that we have a place, that we have an opportunity that we can grow and be flexible with a facility? We look at our middle school property. We know the middle school is what we landed on, is needing a new building. We looked at the land. Some of the things that we learned from our people in our focus groups is that they didn't want it to be on the outskirts of a place. They wanted it to be centrally located so that all of the people that come into Fairfield will have an equal access to this building. But in order to do that, we need to relocate our tennis courts. Right now, the tennis courts need to be resurfaced. We share that responsibility with the city, And we have been having conversations behind the scenes on a good location for that tennis court when this bond passes, and what we can do with that. So that is in the master plan of this bond, is to build in new facility for our tennis courts. Then that would open up that land so that we would be able to put in a building right behind the current building. This would not disrupt our students' learning, so they could go into this new building, and after they have the building up and the students have moved in, they would then remove the old building, and we would have that set so that the learning is taking place, and we would then have this land prepared and ready for a bond that would be 20 years from now. This is where we would end the bond. So we would have a 4 through 8 building in this bond. We would have the relocation of the tennis courts in another area, and then we would put air conditioning in our high school gym. That's the end of the bond. The future bond would then build in a K through 4 or K through 3 building so that we could have that ready for the next future as we move forward. And each area would have their own neighborhood. So K2 would have their neighborhood, 3-5 would have a neighborhood, and then 6-8 would have a neighborhood. They'd have their own doors to go in, and it would be still separated but yet together for that flexibility that we will need in the future. This is another way to look at that, to show you that there would be ways that they would come in with their parking and with their own access to each of the areas in the 20 to 40 year plan, not just this first plan. The tax levy is one of the areas that I'm very proud that we are able to have the amount and time that we could do a bond right now. Our tax levy has dropped off this year, and it will drop off again next year. We will go back, if the bond passes, we are asking that our levy go back to the 2019 levy. Now, a financial advisor said that we'd have space that we could go up more in our bond, but one of the things that we'd ask is that we would try to stay in the average of our levy. The orange line shows where Fairfield has been in the past. So from 2003 up to that the future to 2011, 2012, you can see that we've been right with with the average of the state, average of the area schools around us, and we have not been exaggerant with anything that we have done. We have really tried to stay within that middle ground. Another way to look at it is to see that Fairfield right now is at $11.82 on our taxes. That is significantly lower than what it was. And this isn't a race that we want to be at that low end of it. We want to be able to give and build things for our students and for the future. We want to be able to have the new facility. And in order to do that, we're asking to go back to that $13.33 of where we were in 2019. Now, it's still below the state average, which was at $14.28. So we're staying below that. We're not going above that part of it. And this would be part of the bond that is on there. We're asking to go back to that $13.33. You can go on our website and you can put in the assessed value of your home and find out what exactly it would cost you for a month and what it would cost you for a year by using that on your home and on your agricultural land. So if you do go to that site, you can use that number, and it's the assessed amount. It's not what your house would sell at, but it's what the tax says your house is assessed at. One of the things that I'm very proud that our board has done over the last years is that we have paid off our bond early, that we had the high school bond. So 11 years early, this bond was paid off, and it saved taxpayers $1.55 million in interest from that tax bond because of being paid off so early. We wouldn't even be able to have these conversations yet if we had not paid that off early. And along with that is that we have an old building that we've been pouring money into to try to keep it and keep it going. This way we can put in a new facility for our students, for our staff, and for our community and we have that time because we did pay that off early. So we've been good financial stewards of your money, and we would like to continue to do that. So voting is Tuesday, September 14th. And after that, if this passes, then the design and construction phase would start. We would get community input on the designing of the building. Then we would go into the bidding process of who would be doing that building construction. We would have the building construction up through July of 2024. Students would move in on the 2024, and then the demolition of the current building would happen after that. So $34 million project to have a brand new building, air conditioning in our high school gym, and a new tennis court. Why now? Why not wait? We could wait. Well, construction prices we know are going to be going up in the future, and one of the financial advisors that we spoke to said that if we would be looking at this bond today, it would be 1.82 in interest. Now, our last one was at 3% that we had on our bond. So again, today is better financially, that we can use more of the money on the impact of what we can build and how we can put it back into the educational value, because that interest rate wouldn't be there. We know that construction would be up if we go out further in the future. We are well positioned financially that we could have this bond right now. Actually, we could have gone up to 37.5 for this proposal, and we said that we would rather stay right in the middle of where we are, stay under that state average. So again, being good stewards of taxpayers' money. We have urgent needs that we want to address with our kids to make sure that they have all of the educational avenues for them right now so that they could have that learning opportunity today. And this allows us the flexibility that we can have the maintenance and our operational funds we can put into the other buildings and not have it for all of the buildings. We can focus now on a new building and then the 3 other buildings that could use that time. One of the things that we found out, this is a slide from an early presentation, that our buildings are all coming to the end of life at the same time. So part of this 20 to 40 year plan is to spread that out, have one part of the building now that would be new, and then we don't have to focus on it as much, and then go into the next phase of that building, and then we have it on a staggered plan so that we know that our operational cost can be divided out a little bit easier over the time rather than always trying to fix things right now in 4 old buildings. So this is definitely something that can be minimizing our operational cost for our facility. We are reusing land that we already have acquired. We won't need to purchase new land. We can put that money back into the building and to focus on that part of it. We get to reuse the geothermal field that is already on that space. We've learned that as the horizontal geothermal fields, they're 15, 30, and 45 feet below ground, and you can build on top of those with the building structure. We have Keokuk is building one right now over their geothermal field. When they're horizontal, this can be done. So we're reusing that part of it that you have already been paying for. So that is, again, a good steward of your taxpayers' money. We're able to reuse the athletic fields. We're going to make sure that we have a new tennis court that is there for the community use, for our students' use. And then again, adding that AC unit to the high school. And if you've been in the gym for graduation or Meet the Trojans or any of the different events that are there in the spring, summer, or fall, you know that that gym gets pretty hot, and it's the only facility in our whole district that is not air conditioned right now. So it'd be nice to be able to put that in on that same bond. You can go to our site again at fairfieldsfuture.org. Click on the left-hand side, there's information on the bond, and you can go into details on any questions that you have. There's a frequently asked questions. You can put in your assessed value of your home. You can have all the information at your hand, and then what we are asking is that you go vote so on the 14th and let your voice be heard. So thank you for your time and for watching. Right. Well, first I have to say thank you for coming in. I'm excited that you're going to ask me some questions about the bond. And you are both co-presidents of our student council. So Delaney and Danielle Breen. Congratulations on that, because what a fun thing to do for both as sisters and to be able to do that together. So, but first, I know you've got questions for me, so I'm excited to answer those for you.
All right. Well, first off, ultimately, what are the major changes taking place with the new building?
All right, so with a new middle school, one of the things that we're looking at would be all new facility. So it would not be just changes in it, but we would tear down the old building and have a brand new building put in that place. So there would be up to date, all of the equipment in it would be up to date, the building would be up to date, more efficient in energy, things like that.
Mm-hmm. Nice.
Okay, so what is going to be the biggest positive impact from this bond?
Sure, that's a good question. So a positive impact from this bond is that first we'd have a modern building that the students would be in. There's part of a plan. It's going to be this 20 to 40 year plan, and this is phase one. So we would get students from 4th grade to 8th grade in this building, and then 20 years from now for your children, it would be then the next phase, and we would add on kindergarten through 3rd grade.
All right. Why is the middle school the building that's getting redone now? Why not the older buildings in the area?
So when you were there, did the roof leak?
Yes, it did.
Just a little.
Just a little
Only
bit.
a few times.
A few times. Well, and I heard from people that were there from the very beginning, they would say, hey, I was the first 8th grade class that was in that building, and it leaked then. And it has had issues with water from the get-go. Mm-hmm. And the construction of that building is just one that needs to have, it just needs to have a new building. It's an old one, and rather than continue to pour our money into an old building, it would be better to have a brand new building that we could have for all the kids that would be going through there.
Makes sense.
Yeah. Okay, so how will other facilities be affected by the new middle school?
Sure. Step one, not too much. So we would bring the 4th graders over, but we would still use Pence, we would still use Washington. Okay. The thing that we would get to do is that part of, right now, everybody is running around trying to fix everything in every building. You've got issues at the high school, I know. And we don't have time to get everything fixed at the high school and Washington, Pence, and the middle school with all 4 very old buildings. This way we can start a plan, get a new building in place, and then the others could spend more time fixing things that need to be fixed. And our money that we need for that one would be there to then push into those buildings and fix them.
Nice. Well, lastly, how will this benefit our local economy?
It is one of those things that is a positive impact on our economy. And with that, I mean, we would have people that come into our area, possibly they would look at Fairfield and they would say, I'd like to see the schools. And if we have a building that we can show them and showcase, our importance that we feel education is, and show them a new building, many times then they'll say, this is a place that we would like to have our company come to. So we would like to make sure we're keeping up with other areas and have those new buildings.
Okay. Well, nice. Thank you.
Yes, thank you
for answering our
guys.
questions.
I appreciate you coming in.
Yes, of course.
Thanks.